Hello and welcome to the fourth in a short series of episodes from the Full Force podcast, where we play each FSS figure against each other in a battle to see who is the greatest action figure the club released in the 8 waves of their figure subscription service. I thought I'd be a bit more aggressive. We are looking at each wave separately, of course, and having looked at FSS 1, 2 and 3 on the previous shows with Big Boa, Cesspool and Frostbite taking the victories, we now move on to FSS 4, and due to the awkward numbers that just don't really work in a playoff structure, we'll be doing groups of 3 in the first round, and the Mystery 13th will go up against the winner at the end. I am Christopher Small Ben McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80, and joining me on this and all the episodes for this particular short series are Full Force regulars Adam, Keep, Slicin, Riches, and Justin Frostbite on my bell. Now, before we get stuck into round 1, let's crunch the numbers with Adam, Snitches Get Stitches, Riches, Madam
FSS 4.0. Order period was originally supposed to run from May 21st, 2015 through June 9th, 2015. However, that's not what happened.
You don't say.
Was it earlier?
No. It went up for sale originally on May 21st, 2015 as scheduled, but then was placed on hold from June 3rd through July 3rd.
Wow. And
then resumed sales from July 3rd through July 15th. So a little bit of a disaster there. Retail price $389, which breaks down to $29.92 per figure, which for those keeping score is an overall increase of $11.50 or 89 cents per figure from FSS 3. Also of note, FSS 4 only contains 3 newly tooled pieces versus FSS 3's 8 newly tooled pieces.
Wow.
And finally, these numbers are crazy. You need to put some graphics up. The first figures of this set, which is Nunchuck and Law & Order, arrived 266 days after FSS 3 ended and 218 days after orders closed.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow. I don't remember it being that delayed. Obviously it was, but I just don't remember.
It's so bizarre thinking back to that, considering now it's like just this endless, relentless, like pummeling of action figures nonstop in the last couple of FSS. Like...
And apparently people have already got 2 delivery notices for the FSS 8 already.
Good grief.
So it looks like we'll be getting 2 lots of deliveries before Christmas, it might sound like. Anyway, let's get into round 1, shall we? Battle. Round 1. First up, we have Law & Order, Nunchuck, and Barricade. Let's start with Law & Order here, guys. Adam, take us through your thoughts on this figure and his animal companion, please.
This one's a mixed bag for me right out of the gate. I know that this is a very desirable figure to this day, one of the highest-selling non-13th FSS figures, but it's just not really accurate to me. Or not accurate enough.
Right.
They used the, 30th anniversary law tooling for the most part, which is good, but obviously it's not an exact match for version 1. So he got a vest change, switched to Wild Bill's, and Order is wearing his updated little SWAT vest gimmick there, which is...
it's cute.
It's cute, but not in any way accurate to version 1. And also... My biggest pet peeve, which is totally stupid, is that he doesn't have his pants cuffed into his boots, which is kind of a staple of law for me.
Yeah.
That's it. This is a pretty good figure overall. I did think at the time, with all the newly tooled heads we were getting, that it would have been really cool to have had the head sculpt as a modern update to Kirk Bazigian, who obviously has a lot of interaction with the club, especially knowing that we would later go on to see this re-released through the club again in different deco.
Do you think there might have been an issue there with Kurt going through some sort of legal battle with Hasbro at the time?
Nah, I don't think so. I feel like so much of this stuff is kind of under the radar, which I know is like a crazy thing to say even as someone involved with it, but there's so many open secrets, Clean Sweep and Iron Bear, that it's like,
What do you mean?
Whatever.
I'm kidding. Justin, what do you think about Law?
I kind of agree with Adam. I mean, the club was, G.I. Joe fans typically want, as faithful version 1 representation as they can get. And the club, as usual, just kind of can't seem to commit one way or the other. They kind of give a vintage homage, kind of give a modern twist, and don't really do either of them all that well. The 30th anniversary Law was a fantastic figure for its time. I mean, great articulation, great sculpting, really high quality figure. And so as a result, this one it's a good figure. It's just, number one, do we really need another law when the 30th anniversary law was already so good? And number two, if you're going to give us another law, at least try to go the extra mile and make it a little bit more vintage accurate. So it's a good figure. It's not really a good for people who are desperate for an 87, a complete run of 87 figures. Yeah, I guess it fits the bill, but it just doesn't quite go the extra mile.
I'd have to disagree a slight bit with both of you guys on this one, but not in in a crazy controversial way. I do think it's way closer to the original than you're making out. Like, I think that the vest is almost identical, apart from obviously a couple of pouches on the right hand side, the fact there's a knife and whatever. But like, I kind of feel like it's very, very similar to the original vest. Obviously everything is in the right place, and again, like, what they've done is they seem to have added a few more color breaks on the legs with the strapping and everything, which I think I would have done as well in that situation. I think I probably would have done exactly the same thing. The only thing, like you're saying, is the boots and the lower leg type scenario. I think that different legs probably would have obviously made that a lot closer to the original, but I think in terms of like the lore, I think it's pretty close. The only my issues with the figure are the fact you can't close his arms down by his sides because of the vest. It looks ridiculous. Like, you can't stand, other than they stick out so weird. That's the only thing I struggle with as a figure. And like, I do agree with you guys on that mixture though of kind of like, it's like, is it Pursuit of Cobra upgrade or is it vintage accurate? Like, pick one and go with it. I definitely understand why every now and again there might be a little upgrade to a color break or something to obviously make it, because obviously the original, we're saying that the originals effectively should be like the perfect thing, and sometimes they aren't design wise, but that's what we know and that's what we love and that's what the nostalgia sticks to. But I would suggest he's pretty close in actual fact to the original looking lore, but it fails in other places for me. It fails in more practical ways, and I think they should have gone with a vintage order as opposed to the modern kind of jacket one, which I think it's a brilliant modern upgrade to the dog and to lore for that figure. But if you want vintage, pick one, go with vintage.
Well, see, also, in 2009 there was a Law and Order figure, and it has the original order without the vest, and he has the legs with the cuffed, tucked in boots. So it's like, I hate to sound so nitpicky right out of the gate, but it's similar to Slice for me, where it's like, if those pieces are just sitting there, why not do it?
I feel like they would probably had an eye on improving it, like maybe as well. And you know what the club are like, no disrespect, but I get the feeling that they thought, let's do this because there are better parts here and we can get away with it by doing this and this. But I agree with you. I think if the parts are there, use them. And even if like the original figure doesn't quite do, isn't quite right, find them elsewhere. There are plenty of legs and lower legs, upper legs. There's plenty of parts out there to find what is effectively a very basic lower portion of lore, isn't it? I mean, like, you look at that figure originally, there's nothing crazy different going on. There's definitely legs out there you can use. Anyway.
Tell me more about his basic lower portion, Chris. That's what I'm really interested in.
1/4 portion. Justin, take us through the abomination of Nunchuck. I might have given a spoiler away there of how I feel about this.
Well, Nunchuck, suffers kind of the same issues as Law, only to an even greater degree. I mean, number one, just like Law, there's a great base figure underneath there because, it's the same or very similar ninja parts to so many other, G.I. Joe Retaliation era, 30th anniversary era figures. I do like that they did the 30th airtight legs. I do think that was kind of an interesting twist. I'm not sure how many of the other ninja figures have done that. Maybe they all have, and I just haven't been paying enough attention. But I do think they added some little quirks like that helped Nunchuck stand out a little bit. But so much of the figure just is wanting to be a Pursuit of Cobra update again without going the full extra mile. And you end up with web gear that just doesn't look at all the same. A martial arts belt when he had more of a combat belt originally. That horrible mask that came with that jungle Snake Eyes or whatever, that Pursuit of Cobra Snake Eyes. I
call him the Jungle Training Shanghai Ninja Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
Because there doesn't seem to be a name for it. It's just Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
Version 927.
And I don't know, you may have to take this out, I apologize, but is it common knowledge that there was pre-production Nunchuck parts out there?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Who cares anyway? Like, what are they going to do? They're going to sack us? No.
Well,
Go for it.
But and we know we've seen images of some pre-production images of parts that look like they were practically made for an updated nunchuck with some different web gear and stuff like that. So why the club didn't, at least maybe they did attempt to, I don't know. Something tells me they didn't even attempt to try to get access to those parts, and you just end up with again a nunchuck that is kind of one and kind of the other, but doesn't really do either one really well.
That, to be honest, I want to jump in here and say that I feel like this was just really a, what can we do? Just what can we do with really basic parts? What can we throw together really quickly? And it doesn't really make any difference. It feels like a very, thrown together figure. It doesn't. If you look at the figure, it looks cool. It's a very cool looking figure in general. I don't have any issues with it as a figure. But as the character of Nunchuck, and you look at Nunchuck, and it's this, the visual cues are there, but you're right, the mask is completely just not right for him. Why, when to me, Nunchuck is he's like a military guy that just happens to be a ninja. He's all military apart from the mask. That's what I feel with Nunchuck as a figure. When I saw the figure originally, when I had him originally, I loved him and I thought it was great. But I kind of think that you need to make him military as opposed to ninja. And what they've done is they've just done similar thing with the Vipra, where it's just a repaint, but not a very kind of, they haven't really thought anything out here. It's just, although I must say the deco's still nice, it's just that the web gear needs to be military. I mean, even if they just change that, I feel like there's something going on. Adam, I know you've got some feelings about this figure.
Do I ever? This one really just makes my heart hurt. I'm such a Ninja Force fanboy, and so many other sub teams that I feel like were less deserving just straight up got a box set and got it all done at one shot. And here we are after a decade of Ninja Force piecemealing together, we still don't even have them all.
Yeah.
So it's when they're that spaced out, you would think, well, surely that would give you the opportunity then to really put in some serious effort, newly tooled pieces or really clever builds or whatever. And like you guys said, it just kind of feels like a phone in. And I'll start with a couple of basic things for me. One of the hallmarks of Nunchuck is he's wearing Converse shoes. And
yep.
I don't see why on this figure you mentioned they use the airtight legs, which I agree is a good move, but the Storm Shadow version 39 from the first wave of Pursuit of Cobra, the desert one, has both similar enough sneakers and that sort of mummy wrap head. And I'm like, why did they not steal both of those parts off that figure for this? Yep. Because that would have fit great.
Yeah.
And then another thing that's worth mentioning, and it's funny, obviously we're all huge fans here. I don't even know how many people realize this. Bushido and Nunchuck, the original version 1, are literally the same figure in different deco, which I didn't even realize for 20 years.
I didn't realize it until you messaged me to tell me.
Yeah, it was like an epiphany, and it that shows you really the power of a good deco. And I thought, the upcoming, or whenever you listen to this, maybe it's already out, the FSS 8 Bushido figure, from the neck down anyway, is a really solid representation and has good web gear. And I'm like, why did they not use that same web gear here? There's just so many little, it's just nitpicky stuff again, but if you're going to do it, do it right. And then as far as the little mask piece, at the time that was shown, I was kind of like, well, at least that's sort of unexpected. It's really a piece we hadn't seen a lot. So, I mean, I don't hate it. It kind of reminds me of Shredder a little bit.
Yeah.
But
he looks evil though with it, I think.
Yeah, and I really thought for sure at the time that they would just stick the Night Creeper headpiece on there. So that was kind of of course there's also a Night Creeper in this set, not that matters because we've had full figure reused in the same subscription before, but but I thought that might be something to do. So I don't know, I don't hate this figure. It definitely has a place among my modern Ninja Force display. But
well, that's the thing, he doesn't look bad. It's a good looking figure and he looks cool and it's really neat and it's got the visual cues. But the fact that it's just not Nunchuck for me, there's so much that takes away from it, and it's stupid because you look at it and you think, yeah, but it is Nunchuck, and I'm kind of like, yeah, but it's not. All it needed was some better web gear, and I'm much happier. It's so ridiculous that that's the thing, and I can put that on myself, but at the same time, I just think, why not just do that? And I don't know, why weren't they putting money into tooling the things that were needed as opposed to things that weren't needed all the time? That was another thing that really me off a little bit, was the fact that we would get multiple upgrades of something all the time. Almost every wave of figures came out, there'd be a new head for a certain character, and you think, well, what about all the things that need upgrades or things that need new tooling that we could now be utilising in FSS 8? Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, let's move off Nunchuck and let's calm down because there's a better figure coming up. And I get to talk about Barricade first. And I
thought you said there was a better figure.
Exactly.
Coming up.
That was the joke.
Were you confused about the order?
That was the joke. Basically, just not a fan. That's all I'm going to say. I don't need to explain why. It's basically a reuse of a concept and an action figure that I wasn't a fan of in the first place. And that is the Delta 6 accelerator suits, or whatever they're called. I hated the film so hard, and I couldn't stand that scene. And when the figures came out, I really was struggling to buy to those particular figures, and they're quite cool as action figures go. But at the same time, I didn't want to see it again, and especially not on a figure that has round, soft element of design on his original figure. Now we've got this sharp, spiky, weird, horrible version in the modern era, and I just think it would have been so much easier not to do this. That's just me. Adam.
Yeah, this is one of those instances where it's like, if you really don't have the stuff to get it at least a relatively close approximation, I probably just wouldn't have tried. And it's not like I can't look at this figure and see that it's what it's intended to be, but sometimes that's just not good enough. Like, I actually think that this much more closely resembles Captain Power than I do Barricade.
Big time.
Yep. The other thing, though, is, and not to say that this would have salvaged it by any means, but there were some better parts choices, I think, that were out there, like the Arctic Destro torso, which was later used for the Tocto Vipers or whatever. Like, I actually think is a much closer match than the Accelerator suit. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, Barricade has a very iconic helmet. He has a very iconic head sculpt, and you can't really deviate from those things and still have it retain what's unique about that character. Also, the arms on this came from the 87 style armored Cobra Commander, which are so iconic and really stick out. That like it's just and also a lot of the pieces are ill-fitting.
Yeah,
I don't hate this figure, but I also kind of struggle to find good things to say about it. Like, I think on its own merits, it's kind of cool, but then like when you know what it's actually supposed to be and that there was other parts available, that kind of hurts it for me.
It hurts it for me because he doesn't actually fit in with what he's supposed to be. Like, he's some sort of like sci-fi super trooper now, as opposed to a door bashing blimmin' SWAT specialist. So I don't really understand why they gave him this look when it doesn't match what the character does. You're not going to see him in an urban situation looking like that unless it's on RoboCop or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't get it. And funnily enough, the original looks more like RoboCop than this version does. Justin, what about you, mate?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the club's got this superhuman ability to take two things that I really love, which is the original Barricade and the Rise of Cobra Accelerator suit action figures, and put them together into something awful. So, I mean, pretty much everything you said is true. I mean, the original Barricade, if you sit down and look at him, he's not a cyborg. He's just got lots of really thick armor. Yeah. And so really why they felt the need to make this ultra detailed, accelerator suit looking figure just blows my mind. And not only are, those battle armor Cobra Commander arms iconic, they also, they come to his hips. They look incredibly short and just goofy with the rest of the figure. And it just does not work. And they didn't even get the colors right. Like, the blue's too bright. It's not quite dark enough for the original Barricade. And the gold is all kind of muddy and murky. And it is just a swing and a miss at every single attempt on this one, which is really disappointing because I've got this strange, I think as most people who listen to the show probably know, I've got the strange love for 90s era figures. I really like kind of the bulky kind of suit, not really futuristic, but not just plain old vanilla military guys. They kind of have the Mega Marines. I love the Mega Marines. I love Barricade. I love a lot of the kind of figures wearing bulky armor, kind of, on the fringe of sci-fi, but not completely, totally over the edge to sci-fi. And I would agree with Adam, if you can't do it, just don't do it. Don't try to mimic something that just isn't going to work, and this really does not work. I'm looking at these pictures in my review of him, and I'm just even more disappointed now than I was then.
Also, can we start a toy line called Vanilla Military? I think that'd be really cute. Just like ice cream soldiers Get it?
There you go.
Okay, so I don't want to kind of keep dissing on it, but I think one of the issues I have is that the figures, the Delta Suit 6 Accelerator Suit figures are actually kind of cool, but I'm so out of joint by how it was used in the film that it just bugs me that it exists in the first place. And it's so corny and so weird and gross that I also think the main problem I have with it is that it looks dated. And Barricade already looks dated as a figure. Like, as soon as he came out, I'm like, God, that's old-fashioned. It looks like something that would have come out in, like, I don't know, the early 2000s. You know, at least in, like, the 80s and the 90s, you've got some kind of, I don't know, some kind of kitschy, nostalgic, kind of cute value. But in, like, kind of, like, late 90s going into more so the early 2000s, a lot of things already look really, really dated, and I don't think are ever going to not look dated. It's just a strange design concepts and stuff. It just rubs me. And I don't mean in G.I. Joe. I mean in the world. I mean in general. Like, right. A lot of the things that were coming out of the early 2000s instantly didn't look very good. And I'm looking at, like, Bay Transformers as well, as you know, on that thing. I think they look dated as soon as they came out. As soon as the designs were shown off, I'm like, they already look old and rubbish and crap, and I want to move on and get something updated. Anyway, why am I so angry tonight? I don't know.
Yeah, also on that Accelerator Suit rant, I feel like they've never really worked for me on anything other than the Accelerator Suits. Like, they didn't work on Voltron. I don't really love them on the FSS 8 Overkill.
Voltar.
Oh, yeah, Voltar.
But I was going to say,
see Voltron.
Yeah, I want to see a Voltron Accelerator Suit. No, you're right. You're spot on. And I think we should forget this now, and we should work on who's going through. I think I know who it is, but Adam, please tell me who's going through out of this three. We're not doing a top three because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm so aggressively angry in this first round. It's ridiculous.
It's only going to get better.
It can only get better. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Nunchuck's going through.
There's a surprise.
And I know that everyone's going to be surprised by that. And for me, I'll tell you pretty much my line of thinking. Obviously, it wasn't going to be Barricade. Law and Order, I really, really love. Obviously, it's no secret I'm a fan of the 87 movie. And I feel like that figure just, it's good, but it's not great. It just doesn't really do it justice. And for that reason, I feel like it slightly doesn't fit. And Ninja Force, even though it's not a perfect fit there either, I think that because it's building a sub-team and it's close enough and it's easily fixable too, that I think that just slightly gives it the edge for me.
Okay, and Justin.
Oh man, it's tough. I mean, yeah, it's definitely not Barricade. It would
I thought you were going to put Barricade through. Sorry.
Oh no, definitely not Barricade. It's a close call between Law and Order and Nunchuck. You know, I agree with Adam on both instances. You know, I did love Ninja Force. The biggest bummer to me of Ninja Force back in the 90s was the spring-loaded stuff, and you know they at least fixed that part of it. So I guess I'll side with Adam. I'll go with Nunchuck.
Okay, well my vote is insignificant, but I would have gone with Law and Order.
They tried it the other way, but it didn't work.
You've been waiting to say that the entire time.
No, it just worked. When it works, it works.
Dude, that's very true. Congratulations, Adam, on using the greatest quote in a movie ever, and it is. Anyone says that is the greatest quote in a movie ever.
Actually, you know, I had another good one saved up, but I didn't get my shot for it. When you're saying he couldn't put his arms down, I was like, how's he going to look sharp for his compadre?
Another good one. Stop making me do editing work. Okay, well, the winner of that round then is Nunchuck. Congratulations, Nunchuck. He goes through to the next phase.
Congratulations on being the least awful of three awful figures.
That's very true. The least awful goes through.
And the Golden Razzie goes too.
Although I'm still not convinced. I think Law and Order is closer to the original vintage figure than Nunchuck is. But anyway, it's irrelevant now because I've been outvoted. Anyway, moving on. Next up, we have Night Creeper, Jammer, and Pathfinder. We'll start with Justin this time. Thoughts on Night Creeper, please, Justin?
Bizarre. I mean, I know Hasbro showed off kind of a more modern Night Creeper in their concept case at a couple of the conventions, which was essentially the same deco as the 90s version with some updated parts. And I think the updated parts, I don't know if they were exactly this formula, but they were similar. So, I mean, the club took those parts, but instead of doing a regular Night Creeper update, decided to go with the obscure 98 Arctic repaint, which was kind of a strange choice, I got to admit. You know, I'm not sure why... why they make those decisions knowing, I mean, I won't say knowing full well, but, probably having an idea that, number one, they're never really going to get an opportunity to complete that 3-pack, and number two, they're probably not going to get an opportunity to revisit the 90s Deco Night Creeper in a new cool way again. So why they chose to go with this one, I'm really not sure. I mean, in a way, it's a little bit different than what had been released before, so that's kind of cool, I guess. But ultimately, also, kind of with that white uniform, it looks almost a little bit too close to the Retaliation Storm Shadow, which I actually love that Storm Shadow a lot, but for some reason doesn't translate quite so well with this Night Creeper. And then again, you've got issues with the arms, which aren't quite Skullbuster bad, but they're pretty long and goofy, so the parts just don't seem to work all that well either. So I can appreciate what they were trying to do. I just don't think they did it all that well.
I'm going to slightly disagree on just for the sake of the episode.
Go to hell.
And so people, exactly. Let's have a fight. Just for the sake of entertainment, and because I'm feeling fruity tonight for some weird reason. I don't know what's going on. But with the Night Creeper, I think this is a perfect place to utilise a sexy homage that, that might have been forgotten or not really utilised or whatever, or just forgotten. And I like the thought of them doing this particular homage, but I kind of agree with you in that it's a shame we don't have an updated original first. I think the build works really nice. There's a few elements that, of course, it's like they always have to have knee pads now. Everything has to have f***ing knee pads all the f***ing time. Why am I so angry? Stop being so angry. I'm not angry. I don't feel angry. It's just coming out when we're talking about this particular FSS, and it's odd because I'm usually so positive with it. But I do like this Night Creeper, and I'm going to fixate on that because I don't want to get angrier. I do like Night Creeper. I think it's cool, and I love the homage they've gone with from like a quirky era. Adam.
When this figure was first announced, I kind of thought it was a wasted spot. I was like, whatever, just another redeco I don't really need. And then I got it in hand, and I loved it. I think this figure is really cool. Now, it does have some issues. The giraffe arms, or monkey arms, I guess, rather. Skullbuster syndrome.
Giraffe arms.
I was just thinking,
Giraffes even have arms?
Sure, yeah, those are the fun. It's just, it is a bit of an ill-fitting mess with the arms. Also, pet peeve of mine when accessories don't all fit or work. And he kind of struggles with the backpack and cape. Should I give Chris a minute to let him recover?
I'm good. I've got a really good one in a second, and it's about his shark legs. But carry on.
The backpack and cape doesn't really work well together, and it always drives me crazy when you can't get a full weapons loadout on there at once. The lower legs being changed to the Storm Shadow legs. That's a little weird, if you're going to be a vintage stickler. I don't really care.
Wraps would work, wouldn't they?
They would, yeah. I had the 98 figure. I liked it. I think this is a good enough homage. It is just a really cool looking figure. That color palette works. And I will say, for me, I know that the articulation isn't as good as it could be, but I thought that the 2009, both versions we got, the V1 homage and the blue one, I thought they were both fine. I mean, they're good enough. Like, confession, I don't really play with my figures. I just display them. So, I don't really care if they can achieve miraculous poses. Like, they just look nice on a shelf to me. So I'm good with those. I don't really need a V1 update. I thought this was pretty fun.
You'll change your mind when you have to do loads of posing pictures now that we're running out of Justin's General Joe's reviews.
We'll figure it out. Expect those poses to get a lot more happy. But
they're all just going to be like standing still, like an FSS reveal.
Yeah, pencil straight. But this is a cool figure. I mean, the accessories are cool, the color's cool. I think the cape is a fun addition. It's not the greatest figure ever made, but it's a worthy inclusion. Totes.
Okay. Oh, God. Okay. Moving through then to Jammer. Justin, take us through Jammer, please. Before I get
Jammer's...
to him.
Jammer's, I didn't have huge issues with Jammer. I mean, he was okay. I didn't have the attachment to him that you probably did, Chris.
I don't really have an... I'll wait for my turn. Sorry. Carry on.
Okay. I like that they used the somewhat updated 25th anniversary parts, from Zap kind of later on in the line rather than the first ones. I think that was good. The large, baggy, sleeved arms don't necessarily mesh with the rest of it all that well. The color palette seems a little bit off than what Jammer should be. I can't really explain how it's different, whether it's different shades of green or what. But
I would say it's brighter, isn't it? You want more.
Yeah.
He's a lot softer, the original Jammer.
Yeah, I like the fact that they reused that boss fight head. That obviously makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The logo on the chest works pretty well too. I think it's a fine figure. I think they did an okay job on this. But again, I don't have the emotional attachment to it that you do, Chris. So maybe you'll have a stronger feeling.
So here's my emotional attachment. It's not that emotionally strong because I only really found out about Jammer later on. Like I wasn't aware of Jammer when I was growing up because I was already kind of, it was already been and gone when I started kind of like getting into it. The only Action Force figures I had were hand-me-downs, and for some reason I wasn't handed down an HQ or a mail away or anything like that. I wasn't given anything like that. So, but Jammer is one of those ones that there's a connection obviously because of that. I feel like a defensiveness around a lot of the Z-Force stuff, but then after a while I kind of got a little bit like put out by the way that they were almost they feel thrown together a little bit.
Yeah.
The couple of things the issues I have with this Jammer, one, brilliant head sculpt, but it's Stalker. And I know that is basically what Jammer is, but I feel like in this scenario, in the modern era, the only thing one thing I would love and fully accept is that each character gets its own head sculpt. I know in the grand scheme of things, that's a very, that we're talking like 80s G.I. Joe through the 90s G.I. Joe, but like, very, very little reuse of parts in terms of the head or none. I don't think, I can't think of any off the top of my head. So I would have really kind of accepted a new head sculpt for him, or use a head sculpt that hasn't really been utilized that much. I know it's obviously going to be difficult when you're either talking about removable beret or you're talking about finding a head that doesn't exist. So I just felt that I was never going to be fully satisfied with whatever they came up with. On top of that, I would have accepted the Stalker head, no worries, because obviously that's, you just have to. That's what the figure was originally. I understand. But the body is so all over the place proportionally, and there are different textures on different parts of each thing. And the deco is this kind of like Club Z-Force kind of design as opposed to what the Z-Force actually had. And
they mimicked their own 2011 figure rather than mimicking the actual original.
Exactly. And that was kind of one of the issues I have with that. And it's I know it's a bit nitpicking. He should be, as an Action Force fan, I should just be like, grateful for what I get. And I am. To a certain degree, I am. But like, it's not going to stop me lamenting what could have been and looking at other builds that weren't as like jaggedly weird, like body-wise from part to part. And so obviously, like, again, I fully accept the Stalker head sculpt and would have been happy seeing it on a different body, and that's really where I think the problem is for me. Adam.
Shock Trooper arms. Shock Trooper arms! Like Justin said, obviously it's more of an homage to their version than the original, so that's, whatever. I guess I can forgive the deco a little for that reason. I have no attachment to Z-Force, so to me that's kind of whatever. I don't really. He's sort of a nothing character to me. The dial tone backpack, I don't love. That's a little weird. Also,
I forgot about that.
I didn't because I had to draw the art. The Stalker head for me, it's not so much that it's a problem that it's Stalker as much as it is that head sculpt was so much meant to homage the talking battle commander Stalker, that cheese and grin. I feel like they would have been better to use the Stalker head, the previous Stalker head, the one from the Resolute and 30 block.
Oh, that would have been great.
Agreed.
The only problem with that one is he has those dreads hanging out the back that are not removable. But you could have
I think that would have helped him stand out as his own character, though. I think actually, that would have been
Jammer. Yeah, I agree with that. Could they not? I mean, is there no scope for the club to cut, get one of those heads, cut the dreads off and recast it like they do with some of the tooling when they get like accessories or other things? Is there no way they can do that with the heads?
It can be done because there's a precedent for that. Joe Colton's jacket had the vest lining cut out of it. But I think that, and I don't actually have that figure in front of me to confirm this, but Let me look at your Joe. Actually, I don't see. I think the way that his dreads are sculpted, though, they kind of like pull back. So if you cut that off, you would just have this really weird like clump missing, where his hair looks like it's pulled into nothing.
Okay, fair enough.
So it wouldn't really work.
Okay, well, ignore that then. But
Okay.
But still, Chama! It's swing and a miss, this one, unfortunately. And it's sad because I was so excited when he was announced, and then when we saw it, I was still excited because I fully expected to see that Stalker head. But then that kind of, it almost draws your eye to the head sculpt and you don't see anything else. You just see like a blur of deco.
I almost wonder if they hadn't painted his teeth, as weird as that sounds, if that would have made a difference.
I don't know, maybe.
I mean, like, he would have had flesh-colored teeth and people would have complained about that, but at least then it wouldn't have drawn your eye so much to be like, oh, that's Stalker. You know?
I don't know. I just, again, yeah, let's move on.
There's just no saving. Jama!
Adam, take us through Pathfinder, if you will.
All right. This is a tough one. I mean, my three favorite years are 87, 90, and 2010, so I'm a big 90 fan. I love the original Pathfinder. But part of what I love about it, and part of what I love about everything from that line, is that the accessories all work. They all function. He's got these little molded pegs on his hips that his little Gatling gun thing's attached to. He comes with the weed whacker piece. Like, it really works together as a whole. This figure is a lot of kit bashed parts trying to approximate something that look like that but don't have the function of that. Yeah, I mean, proportionally, it's got the same issues that a lot of modern era figures have. I feel like he's kind of too long with a small head. The vest piece, I can't remember, it was originally heavy duty or something, but it's like way too big for him.
It's funny, I feel like everything works for the character, like everything like translates well, but they're all the wrong size.
Yeah, well, and we've talked about this before. This is no fault of the club at all, for the record. Like, this is both the gift and the curse of modern era Joe. Because they're not on a standardized buck, you get these great figures that are big and bulky or small or whatever. But then you try to kit bash parts between like Roadblock and Tunnel Rat, and you get this Frankenstein disaster. Like, and you didn't have that problem in the O-ring figures. So like, if I look at this figure as a whole, I'm like, it really is remarkably accurate with no new tooling. Like, kudos. I mean, it looks great. The deco's perfect. Everything, all the accessories are a perfect match. But then you look at how ill-fitting it is, and it's like, well, they only had to work with what they had. Like, it is what it is. Like, I don't know that I could have come up with anything better, but
I feel like if I was putting this build together, I'd been going, oh yeah, that works. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, that looked great. And then you look at it in one go, and you're like, okay, everything is literally wrong here. But I do like this figure. I think he looks awesome. In a weird way. Like, I think the only issue I have is the head size. I think everything else I can literally deal with size wise. It's just that Lifeline head is so tiny and his hat looks massive on him. But I do think he looks really cool, and I think you wouldn't get any closer with what you have right now without just building a new figure.
I think the best way to sum this figure up for me is that he's perfectly adequate. Like, he's as best as you could have given the circumstances, but he's also not great, but he can't be.
Yeah.
I mean, I give them props for retooling the Weed Eater. I think that's really cool.
I still like this figure though. I don't know what it is. Like, I think
he looks great.
I think the deco does it for me. That camo on the pants is like, I want to hug the guy that or whoever it was. I want to hug the person that designed that camo because I think it's freaking awesome. But anyway, Justin, what do you think about him?
Yeah, I think Adam said it perfectly. I think adequate is a perfect descriptor of this figure, which it's unfortunate in a way, but considering the alternative, it's also welcome. I mean, like Adam said, the 1990 was a really
solid
kind of landmark year for G.I. Joe. They released a whole bunch of new characters with all sorts of new accessories. And as Adam said, one of the best things about the accessories is they all had this kind of awesome functionality built within them.
Yeah.
And the club has kind of mimicked the look, but not the spirit of the figures back then. And I think that's kind of an issue that a lot of people have with modern G.I. Joe figures, and a lot of modern fans have too, is that they want everything to look the same without having the same kind of energy and spirit and kind of fun that went along with it. Toys should still be fun, I think, and they just want everything to be gritty military and to look like it looked back then, and not without remembering the fun that those original figures were. And I think this certainly falls in line with that, along with the Bullhorn
spoiler alert
figure as well. Oh, spoiler alert! Yeah. But yeah, it is adequate. It looks good. The parts, seem to work well. The vest, yes, is too big. I agree with you, Chris. That camouflage is awesome. It's amazing how well the lifeline head really works for Pathfinder.
Yeah.
So I think it's a decent enough, adequate job.
That's something I have to mention as well. I don't instantly see Lifeline's head there, so even just that slight change makes it very. Right. That is a good reuse of a head, in my opinion. Unfortunately, the head's too small.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. Oh, Christ on a bike. Okay. Oh God. Okay. Justin, take us through who's going through out of your three.
You're making me do it first?
Oh
yeah. Adam.
I think given the choices,
I didn't mean that. Sorry, that sounded really bad.
Adam just hung up. He's out. I think I'm sure I know which one you guys are gonna pick, but I'm gonna go with Pathfinder as the one to carry on. He's adequate, but not terrific. But
good choice.
As much as I enjoy the Night Creeper, I think he rises above.
Good choice. Adam.
I'm actually gonna throw a wrench in this and say Ice Night Creeper. I don't even know why. I just like him, and I think he just feels pressure, and he works a little better for me.
Yes, I get the casting vote. This is tough. I'm going to go with Jammer. I'm kidding. Could you imagine just to go through?
Jammer!
Oh, I don't know what we'd even do on it because we haven't actually had that yet. Obviously, because we have very similar tastes.
And every three has
has a grundle in it.
A
a night grundle. I'm finding this tough actually because I think Night Creeper and Pathfinder are both like perfectly good figures, and I'm obviously discounting Jammer here. I know I shouldn't. I know I should go full Jammer, but I can't. It's just I don't think it's a very good approximation of the original character. Night Creeper I really like. I think it looks amazing. Like the new updated parts. I love the deco. I love the homage. I think that's really neat. But I really love Pathfinder hard. I loved the figure originally when it came out. I had him. I loved the deco. When the reveal came out, I was blown away. I thought, oh my God, they've done really well to kind of, to get pretty much everything spot on. Yes, there are issues with some of the sizes and everything, but I think Pathfinder goes through because I just feel like gardening right now. Extreme gardening. So congratulations to Pathfinder. He moves through to the next round. He will be facing Grundlechuck, or Nunchuck, as he's known to the other guys. But before we get to that round, let's switch our sides over to the Eastern Conference. Once again, I've forgotten to mention the Western Conference. It's got to read from a script that I just copy and paste pretty much every time and change different elements to it. So, round one on the other side is Bullhorn, Inferno Bat, and Billy. I'm going to take this one first with Bullhorn, and I'm going to go quite hard on this one. Sorry, it's a bit gross. I don't.
Bullhorn, we go hard.
I struggle with this one because again, I think the figure on its own merits is pretty cool, pretty nice, pretty solid looking figure. There are certain visual cues, same old crap that I say pretty much every single time, but there are so many things that are different, and I don't think work very well on this figure. The first thing we'll start with the head, which fine, the head's fine, but I don't think they should have gone with and like the fact they thought, oh well, we can put that little, that red dog thing on his head, and it that could work or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that looks really neat, and I don't think it really does look very good. I think he looks like an idiot. I think it sticks out, and he looks like a. But I think if they'd have painted like just across his forehead, just under the hair or something, if they'd have painted something across there, I would have just been fine with that. Honestly, I don't mind that it didn't have like something on it, and maybe there's something out there that they've already got that could have worked, but I don't think there is. This is probably the only thing they could have done, and I'm not gonna badger them about it. I just don't think it works, unfortunately. Moving through the body, I don't think the secondary works either. I think it's got grenades on it, and yes, it's got pouches on it, but it's nowhere near what the original looks like. And I kind of feel like that is quite a big deal, but it looks cool on this figure as it stands, as it not being Bullhorn. Something I didn't mention is I don't think the face paint is done very well on the new version. they've almost tried to copy it exactly as the original, but haven't quite got what the original one looks like. I don't know whether it's like, I don't know, the sizing isn't right or the shapes aren't quite right, but something on there doesn't. It just looks like he's got on his face. And so anyway, so moving again through the body, and then we get to the legs, and we get this thing where they try to kind of say, yeah, we're going to put the deco here on his kneecaps. You know, why are we always, I don't know, knee pads? It's just one of the modern era things that has to be on every single figure. It's not, you know, there are the thing is, there are legs out there that would work. There are kind of like boot kind of overhang type, you know, figures out there that would definitely work for this. I'm not going to name them because I can't think of them off the top of my head. I think maybe one is a Duke. I think there's there are a few, I think, that would have worked here, and they could have put the deco on that as opposed to the knees. So and like, yes, he's packed with accessories, absolutely packed with accessories, and that's great. So he is kind of, there is that kind of redeeming feature there. But in terms of the build of the character, there's so much that bugs me about it. But they've more or less got it visually all right. What do you say to that, Adam Riches?
From the neck down, this entire figure is Shock Trooper. Shock Trooper! And then the head. Oh, the head. This same head has been 5 characters in 3 years, literally. It's used 7 times. Airwave, Spearhead twice, Pursuit of Cobra Dusty, Dollar General Duke twice, and now Bullhorn. I know who this head is based on, but it's the most bland face.
Wow.
He's just like, you know, I'm just chilling, guys. Like, you know?
Yeah.
This is the intensity. You're supposed to be like, don't jump, man. You know, like he's supposed to be like yelling through a bullhorn, and he looks like he's ready to take a nap.
They should have used the Stalker head, shouldn't they?
Yeah, there you go. See, now nobody would have seen that coming. The web gear, I like. Why does he have like? Is he gonna like throw gas grenades into the building to clear it out or something? Like you said, the not having the boot covers, that drives me crazy. Those pieces are readily available. And I love Bullhorn. That's why I'm so passionate about it. I mean, he's one of my absolute favorite vintage figures. I think he's so cool. He's such a cool specialty. You know, at that point, after 8 years, to still have like a new specialty and still make such a great figure, like really showed just the inventiveness of the line.
Yep.
And I just so desperately wanted a great modern update, and this just isn't that. And now, granted, they did capture a lot of stuff. I mean, the gas mask is a good accessory. They did find a way through low light to have the rifle case that allows you to rebuild the rifle. They did retool his actual Bullhorn accessory.
Yep.
I don't want to sound like a total hater. I mean, there's a lot of things that this figure gets right. And I do wonder if I didn't know about where the tooling came from, you know, would that give me a better vibe on this? Because sometimes, you know, I can't help but be a little biased when I'm like, oh, this body's been used 50 times. Like, if this was the first time I was seeing it, would I think it was great? Maybe, but I can't see it like that. I am biased, and because of that, this one just really misses the mark for me in so many ways.
Justin.
I'm aligned with Adam, especially on the whole Shock Trooper thing. I mean, we get it. You know, the Shock Trooper's got a good generic body to put web gear on. You don't have to do it for every third figure that you release.
Every second, I think you'll find.
And yeah, Bullhorn is one of my favorites too. I don't really know why, but I think he did have a really cool specialty. He was somebody different, somebody, you know, kind of really interesting. You know, it wasn't just another Marine or another vehicle driver or whatever. He had something really unique about him. And they've captured really, again, none of the spirit of the character. And like you said with the face paint, I mean, they ignored the fact that the modern head is just shaped completely differently than the vintage head was, and just kind of slapped the face paint in approximately the same spot, and it just really doesn't work. It doesn't look very good, and it just, you know, it's, again, kind of says, if you can't do it right, you know, why are you doing it at all?
Yeah. 5 stars, right?
The knee pads and versus boot covers is just, I'm not a fan.
Okay, let's move away from Bullhorn before we all negotiate ourselves off the ledge. Adam, take us through Inferno. You know, still understand me, I go blam. I lick your bum bum bat.
Inferno bat, the first into a Cobra battle and the trooper. He's Inferno bat. Does not have a hologram in his chest, but it's pretty cool. Yeah. You know, the original Inferno bat
12 inches of snow. Sorry, carry on.
The original Inferno bat was based off of Bat version 2, and this is not. So
Yep. Fail.
That's whatever, a little noteworthy. I mean, I feel like I should say this here because I do feel like we're coming across like a bunch of like entitled heads.
I think I've honestly set the tone for this episode, and I feel really bad for being an aggressive douchebag about it. Honestly, I feel like you guys wouldn't have been like this had I not started it.
It's cold outside. Just
You're in Florida, man. How cold is it? Was it like 50?
It's only 155 degrees at the moment. It's freezing.
Actually, I'll tell you. I'll look right. It's 42 degrees right now.
Wow.
Which that's ridiculous.
I think it's 8 below.
I was going to say it's about minus something here as well.
That's your choice. I could come live in this tropical paradise anytime. All you have to do is renounce love of the Patriots. So this figure, I mean, I do feel like I need to interject here and say that like we're coming on so hard about how everything isn't a perfect match to vintage, blah blah blah. Like there is only what we have available, and I don't necessarily want everything to be a clone. I don't want to spend my whole life rebuying things I already have in better sculpts. So I don't want to come across the wrong way with that stuff. I can't help but draw that comparison between the original and the new one because that's just what we do here.
It's part of that, part of the game.
That said, though, I think this figure's pretty cool. They did try to switch it up and give him the new legs from Storm Shadow, which are the same legs that were used on the Ice Night Creeper, which that does drive me a little crazy to see the same pieces being used across multiple figures in the same sub, but minor, whatever. I love anything with translucent plastic. It's always been like a thing of mine my whole life. I just think it's so cool. So I think it's pretty neat from that standpoint. Like it's just a fun looking figure. Like he looks like he's made out of like rock candy or something.
Yeah.
I just want to suck him.
That's a thing. He does come with some pretty cool accessories. I like that they retooled that sword piece, the hand attachment. Yeah. I don't really have a lot to say about it. Like, I mean, they'd already done Nano Bat in FSS too, so it's like I don't know how many Bat variants we needed through FSS. I know a lot of people hate army builders coming through the subscription, but I think he's a cool figure. I mean, that's about the best I can say. Like, don't love it, don't hate it. I don't know if I would have used it here, but he's cool. And if it was at retail, I would have definitely wanted it. So
J-Dog.
Yeah, I'm one of the very few G.I. Joe fans that really doesn't like the Bat concept all that much.
Dun.
I mean, I kind of I prefer human enemies to robots. So in Bats, and I can't lie, I mean, the 25th anniversary version of the Bat was an absolutely amazing figure, just from sculpting and accessories and the way they almost perfectly mimicked the vintage one, but made it better in almost every single way. So, anytime they use that figure as a template, it tends to be a pretty decent figure. I just don't really love the Bat concept anyway. I do like the version 2 Bat I thought was a little bit cooler than the version 1 Bat personally. And I wish they'd had a way to mimic that look a little bit better, but I understand that, like Adam said, there's limited tooling.
Well,
and
we've got plenty of them now, mate, haven't we?
Yeah. Okay.
Because obviously we've got that version 2 Bat in the concept, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like from Battle Force 2000. When did that was that mold was that tooling available at this stage?
No, it was a year later.
Yeah.
God, I feel like I remember vividly being a bit off they didn't go with the new version of the Bat though. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what that would be, but it just seems a bit annoying that we were so close to having the right version of it. Really.
Yeah. Yeah, and interestingly, it's a little bit ironic that even though I'm really not a fan of the Bat concept, I have really cool memories of the first Inferno Bat kind of 3-pack. Coming in that plain white box and buying it from the store on 44 or whatever down in Rhode Island, who used to be pretty major online G.I. Joe seller back then, and just going absolutely crazy with them. And even though I didn't like Bats because it was a generic kind of army builder that was inexpensive, I just bought crazy, insane amounts of them and loved it, and just had these really cool memories of it. And it feels like, again, the club goes to mimic the look without really capturing the energy or the fun of it. So it just seems like a half-assed attempt, sort of. And like Adam said, I mean, I do like translucent plastic. That's kind of a neat touch. It's a vibrant-looking figure that has some, visible appeal to it, but it doesn't scream, doesn't really resonate with me as an Inferno Bat.
I love this figure on its own merits. I love the fact that it's translucent and so on and so forth. I think it's really cool to have like a regular Bat in this color scheme, but it is not it's not, again, I'm conflicted with that kind of need to see the vintage kind of replicated in modern form. And I am like that's me. Like I'm one of those people, and probably one of many, because that's what we seem to, what the fandom seems to kind of want to have happen. I know there are obviously detractors to that, you guys, for example, but at the same time, like I understand that it's not everyone's cup of tea. But in this case, I do love this bat. I think it's so cool, and like Adam says, anything in like that crazy color, like it's one of the reasons I love Boss Fight is because their figures are so colorful and so deco oriented. But the bat, this particular bat, I just love that red. I love the idea behind it. But it's not, it's not replicating the version 2. So, I'm a little bit kind of up in the air about it. I love the figure on its own merits, but not as an Inferno bat, which is odd, because what else could else could it be? Okay, so Justin, take us through the next figure in this lineup, which is one I think close to you a little bit, isn't it, with Billy?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's weird. This figure it makes me happier than it has every right to be, because it's not.
Because you keep sticking up your bum, right?
Not really a great figure, but I really love that they did it, and I think given the parts choices available, I think they did a fairly good job at it.
Yeah.
I've been buying G.I. Joe comics since I could find them in my local general store on a little spinner rack, and I always had an affinity for these characters that Larry Hama would write into his comics that never had action figures, and I was such a media whore back then, and kind of still am, that I really want all of my figures represented in some form of media. So the fact that Billy, or vice versa, all my media represented in some form of action figure or toy, and the fact that we went so long with Billy being such a central part of G.I. Joe comic lore without having an actual Billy figure, actually getting one was a really kind of landmark occasion, similar to how Dr. Venom was in the Adventure Team, and even with Dr. Venom was kind of an awful figure as well. But
and Sergeant Smasher as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Sergeant Smasher all the way. But because they represented this key character, they did it ends up feeling like a much bigger accomplishment than it probably is. And I really love that they kind of went with the Devil's Due style Billy, because that makes him somewhat functional in a more modern G.I. Joe universe. It's not a 13-year-old kid running around in a Storm Shadow outfit.
Cybernetic limbs.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this figure is really, really great. And it's one of, believe it or not, even though the execution isn't perfect, it's one of the highlights of this FSS for me.
I like this figure a lot. My only drawback for the actual figure at all, I mean, I love the fact that it's Devil's Due homage. Again, I don't have a problem with that. I'll take any character from any new character that's maybe kind of like pops up in a different way or a different iteration. I'm quite happy to have different homages coming from different directions, different eras. I'm more than happy to do that, even Built to Rule. But
even Hallow Point,
even Hallow Be Thy Name Point. I still, with this one, my only issue is that really odd, like massive V-neck that he's got. Like it goes from like shoulder to shoulder. It looks like the weirdest T-shirt ever. I think I would have been just more happy if they'd have just painted closer to the neck. Don't make it so weird. Like I think it throws me a little bit, because it looks like his whole body is squidging through the top of it, and it's like slowly rising. It's just weird.
Feeling him like a banana.
I know, it just freaks me out. And obviously I don't have an issue with the 6-pack. I really don't. I think it's just it's a tight shirt. I think that's fine, and I'm down with that. I just that exposed V, like it doesn't make any sense to me visually. It really takes me away from the figure. But beautiful head sculpt, Boss Fight again, I believe, and also like the build. I mean, he's a pretty generic guy. It's just like a t-shirt and kind of friggin' combats kind of guy. That's it really, but it's effective, it works, it's the same as the Devil's Due design, and I like it for that. And I must admit, I was also a big fan of hearing that we were getting a Billy, but I was initially, at the time, I think I was a bit disappointed it wasn't going to be a kid Billy from the Marvel comics. Like, how the did they do that anyway?
Right.
But Adam, what do you think about Billy?
So I got a lot of thoughts on this one. We should start off, I guess, because we haven't really mentioned it. This is the last FSS that Boss Fight Studio is involved in.
Yes.
And this is the first of the two new head sculpts they did for this line. And it's a good one. You know, if you had asked any G.I. Joe fan to this point, and they did on the surveys every year, what were the top figures you wanted, unanimously, the answers were always Billy and Pythona, you know. And so the fact that we were getting one of these, it's hard to find fault in it. You know, it's like, it's just to have the character, and any representation is great. And I think for me, it just comes down to execution here. If you want him to be a little bit smaller in stature, and if you're going to do that, I know why they chose the parts they did, but I really can't stand that shirt collar, and I can't stand that molded six-pack, and I feel like if you wanted him to be smaller and have, you know, a semi-normal looking torso, I would have gone with Tunnel Rats, which, you know, isn't perfectly accurate to Devil's Due. He does have a collared button shirt, but at least it's, you know, it looks human and not weird. But now that said, though, I did not want the Devil's Due version. I naturally, I think like everybody probably assumed that it would just be a new head on a Storm Shadow body, and I was delighted when it wasn't. Yeah. What I really would have preferred, and I will totally admit I'm blatantly stealing this idea from Roma Collectibles, in 2015 they did a little like small run custom figure that I guess got kiboshed by Hasbro, but it was a repaint of the...
Let's not mention the name of it, shall we?
Statute of limitations. Young Indy from the Indiana Jones line, and I think that if they had done that and made the Cobra Youth version with the new head sculpt still, that would have been awesome. Like, you know, we've never really had a kid figure in G.I. Joe.
True.
I feel like for most G.I. Joe fans, I think at least, when you think of Billy, you're mostly thinking of the Marvel run, and you're either thinking of the Cobra Youth story where they tried to have him assassinate Cobra Commander, or you're thinking of him as Storm Shadow's apprentice. And either one of those would have been cool, but, you know, if they'd gone Storm Shadow, obviously he wouldn't have gotten the robot leg. So I think for that reason, I would have really preferred the Cobra Youth, and that would have been really cool. But, you know, all that, you know, fantasy figure making aside here, I think it's a good figure. The torso bothers me, but he's pretty cool, and I love the head sculpt. And I'm just ultimately, you know, any grievances aside, I'm just happy we finally got the character in some form after all these years, you know, because out of all the characters that Larry created that were exclusive to the comic, I think this was one that was probably the most crucial.
Agreed. So, yeah, totally.
Yeah, definitely.
So just really glad to have any representation of it. One other little thing, this doesn't have anything to do with the figure, but the last name Arbach, I always thought was kind of a strange thing, because he'd been referred to as Kessler and or just simply Billy, so it was kind of weird to see Arbach out of nowhere, but I guess that's just a little trademark rights thing.
I was going to say there must be a trademark thing with that, because it was like, I always felt like they were going down a list of what names they had left, you know. It was almost like, can't use that one, can't use that one, can't use that one. Where are we at now? Arbach, we'll use that one. Perfect. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go first on what I think should go through on this group, and I actually think it's a bit tougher than it appears initially. I think it's not going to, even though I really love Bullhorn, I can't give it to Bullhorn because I have so many issues with what they went with and choices of parts for the build. Even though, again, the visual cues, so Bullhorn does not go through. So for me, it's between Billy and Inferno Bat, and Inferno Bat is Inferno. You know, it's not the figure that I wanted it to be, but I do love it on its own merits. But unfortunately, it's not going to go through because of that. I'm going with Billy, mainly because it's a pretty strong figure. We finally get a Billy. Yes, it's not the one we expected or wanted. Actually, I think it is one that could have been slightly expected had we been given more thought about it. But at the same time, you know, it's an easier version of the figure to do. I'm going with Billy. He goes through for me. Adam?
I pretty much will just reiterate everything you said. It's got to be Billy for me, and for all the same reasons. I don't hate Bullhorn or Inferno Bat, but Billy just works better. And
that makes you completely irrelevant, Justin. Delete yourself.
That's fine.
No,
I was going to say Billy anyway. So.
Okay, good. For the same reasons, or have you got any new ones?
No, pretty much the same thing. I mean, just he's better than the other two.
That's what we should have been doing this whole time. We should have just been going with the one that was better than the other two.
This could be like a 15-minute podcast.
Less than that,
mate.
We could have rinsed through it in seconds. Anyway, congratulations to Billy, who goes through first contestant through in the Western Conference, and he will face the winner of the next round of guys left. Is this all male? It is, isn't it?
No.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean the 12 figures. But anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Ruined it. No, I'm kidding. Okay, moving on to the next round, and that is Interrogator. Tiger Force Sneak Peek and Tiger Force Outback. Adam, back to you on this one. Starting with Interrogator, go for it.
I have a weird conflict on this one. I love Interrogator and I love this figure. It's just the helmet is a weird thing for me. It was a retooled piece from 2010?
Something like
that,
that,
right?
yeah.
The Vacation in the Shadows set?
Yeah, 2011, I think. Yeah. Or no, 10. 10, you're right.
It is 10, yeah.
It's 10, yeah.
It's
10, mate.
This figure... Yeah, 10. Got it.
I think it's 2010.
This figure is actually a really cool build, and this is an example of it doesn't in any way, shape, or form match the original, and yet I still totally get the vibe off of it.
Yeah.
I think it captures the essence. It's a really good and I felt inspired by this toy actually, to create the art. I guess I haven't really talked about the process of doing these a lot, but sometimes not really phoning it in, but it's if there's really nothing to sink your teeth into, there's nothing to really you know what I mean?
Secrets of the trade, ladies and gentlemen.
Sure. And with this one though, I looked at it, I was like, man, that figure is just so bad. He has stature and bulk, and I felt that, and I wanted to reflect that in the art. I wanted him to feel intimidating, and that and that's his role.
That came really high in the FSS card art battle, by the way.
Oh, good to know. The only thing though is just the helmet being a little ill-fitting, and it kind of gets that wide, it almost starts to look Darth Vader-esque.
Yeah.
But that aside, he's a really great figure. He's really cool. The accessories are a good choice. He's got some cool stuff. The handcuffs, the knife, dagger, baton. And it's also a really nice mix of parts, so it's not very predictable. He's got the Retaliation Cobra Commander, metal-plated arm, and I think that vest came from, a Mars Trooper, which, those figures were, Ross all day, but, yet here it looks awesome.
True.
Yeah, it just works for me. I just really like this figure, and the nice little the painted red stripes on the leg to kind of hint towards the original without being a direct match. It just really works. Just a solid figure all around.
Jezebel.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Sorry, that is your new nickname.
For a second.
That is your new name. Go for
I'm
it.
good with that. I'm all right with that. Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Interrogator anyway, and I really like that at least it seems like they didn't just kind of phone this one in. They actually put some thought into an interesting design and put something pretty cool and different together, which is really awesome. I really like the parts choices. They're not obvious, but they still work. I agree with Adam also on the helmet. I wish they'd had a different choice there, whether they just sucked it up and sculpted and tooled a fresh helmet that looked modern and bad. That would have been fantastic, but they didn't. I hate to have them kind of go back to the well, but I actually really love the head from the DTC version of Interrogator, and there probably wasn't really a way to upsize that or anything like that. But just seems like done that a few times in the past where they've gone to some of those older heads and done some tooling, monkeying around with them to make them fit on the modern bodies, and I'm sure that'd be extremely small on this particular figure, especially because he's got some larger stature parts. But could have been an interesting experiment. But overall, great accessories, great colors, decent build. Definitely one of the better FSS figures for FSS 4.
I mirror what you guys are saying. I think he looks nothing like the original Battlecopter version, obviously, but they've done some really good things with him, and this is where the modern update works really well. The kind of Pursuit of Cobra Interrogator, you could kind of see it as, and it's definitely something that I would have loved to see in the Pursuit of Cobra line, and I think people would have accepted it and loved it and gone nuts for it. And yeah, I think it's really, really neat. And I don't feel that compulsion that he has to look like the original, because the original's kind of nuts. And considering what his specialty is, do you honestly think this nasty big interrogator type guy is going to fly in a f***ing helicopter strapped to his back with the cross straps with what looks like a He-Man cross strap with a Cobra logo on it?
His interrogation house call needs to fly there.
He straps people to the rotors and then spins them around until they confess.
Obviously Hasbro had to take some of the edge off the fact that, torture and interrogation. They have to take some of the edge off it for a kid's toy back then. But I always thought it was weird that he was, in with the helicopter kind of crew. But in this particular version, love the update, think it's great. What about then, Justin? I'll come back to you on this one. Start us off with Tiger Force Sneak Peek, if you will.
Well, I really love and appreciate the fact that the club went in a different direction with the Shock Trooper parts from the neck down.
Shock Trooper!
Lol, 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 lol.
And actually, they mixed it up a little bit and did, I think, the Commando Snake Eyes torso with the, which is kind of a bizarre choice considering the entire torso is covered by, his chest pads. So I'm not sure why they went that direction. But I know, Chris, you're all about the European Tiger Force.
I don't know what you're talking about, mate.
I like that they are exploring Sneak Peek. This particular body really doesn't resemble the vintage Sneak Peek in any form or fashion. I think the figure looks appealing. I really love those European Tiger Force color schemes. The bright blues and the oranges are just really, really awesome. So I don't mind that so much, but they definitely did not go like extremely vintage accurate. And it's, the orange collar on top of the green knit sweater is also a little odd, but I like that they, threw that periscope in there. And I'm trying to remember, did they released this one before the regular
This
sneak
was before
peek?
the regular sneak peek.
Yeah, so I should actually add an addendum then. I originally opened this by saying there was only 3 newly tooled pieces. There are actually 4. So
yeah.
It's that periscope, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I really love that they did that and didn't just, recast the old periscope. They did something, pretty new and pretty cool, and it came out really nicely.
Yeah.
So I think overall it's a decent figure. It's just it doesn't quite mimic the vintage one precisely, which generally I'm okay with, and I do like that they went to the European Tiger Force, and I am pretty excited that they actually are finishing that with the final 12. I think that's
me too.
That's a cool move by them. So yeah, it's a pretty decent figure. It doesn't knock me out, but I'm glad they got it in there. And I was aforementioned media whore that I said I was. I really like it when the figures in the media kind of match up. And when Sneak Peek made his return from the dead in the IDW comics, I was really hoping that he'd get revisited in figure form.
Yeah, I have to agree with what you said there, but I do love this figure, and it's nothing, and I think it's because it's nothing like the original. Like the original, I think is cute and kitschy and kind of funny, and he's a bit of a chubbier kind of face and a bit of a odd shape kind of figure, the original vintage one, and he's got like these weird shiny high boots and all this kind of stuff, and everything is just like. Everything is against the grain in that original figure, and then they put that deco on it, which makes it like hilariously crazy by a higher level than even the Tiger Force figures hold themselves at. But what I love about this figure is they've made what I think, and I might be crucified for this, I don't know, but even the original Sneak Peek, obviously that's what the Tiger Force one is using the base of. I don't necessarily think it's a great figure, okay? I don't think it's... Again, I love it for a lot of different reasons. 1, because I had the Tiger Force version as a kid. 2, because I like quirkiness. Not everything has to be in the same cookie-cutter mould across the board. They don't all have to be the same shape, the same look. They don't all have to be attractive. They don't all have to be like this, that, and the other. With that Sneak Peek, I think it's cute. With what they've done as an upgrade to the character, I think he looks really cool. I think they've made him... super, super cool. And I think even the deco of this Tiger Force Sneak Peek looks even like more acceptable than the previous one, even though it's the same, again, like in the same place, the colours and everything. But I just think this one looks really tactical. He looks really awesome. I love the periscope. I like this figure a lot as a modern update to Sneak Peek, and even though it doesn't obviously mimic that vintage version, and I know that's very odd for me to say considering just a few minutes ago I was contradicting that entire sentence. Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any great affinity for the UK Tiger Force because I didn't have them as a kid. They were a later discovery. So for that, I don't have that deep-rooted nostalgia, and for that reason I'm not as critical about if this one is an exact match to vintage. But like you guys, I just really like this figure. Like, I just think he's fun. Like, the shock trooper parts drives me crazy. There's no secret there. I wish that he'd had different lower legs at least, just so that he'd had, one solid piece, it looked like, from the knee down, just to kind of emulate the original a little better maybe.
Yeah,
but
agreed.
Other than that, though, I mean, I think he's really cool, and I love that they kind of kicked up the vibrancy of the colors a little bit. It just adds to the, zaniness of Tiger Force. Yeah.
He definitely looks more tactical, though, doesn't he? Like, there's definitely more, you could see him in like a military combat situation now. Yeah, well, it helps that they got rid of the tiger piece from the waist down, because before he almost looked like he had like an X-ray vest on, that went all the way down like that. A nappy. I think
now it's like a flak jacket.
I think I might have been. I can't remember who I was speaking to, but didn't we talk about maybe them using like that long secondary that went all the way down? Is it Flash that used that in the Rise of Cobra or someone like that? Where there was like it's like a really long secondary that goes really low, and we were talking that they're probably going to use that, and they didn't.
The one that Gridiron has, right? That one?
Oh, it is, isn't it? Yes, that one.
Yeah,
yes.
Flash is a 2-piece.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, you're right, it's the Gridiron one, yeah. I'm sure we were talking about them using that, but anyway, it's irrelevant. It might even have been, this might have been before that was used. Am I getting that confused, possibly?
No, that piece came from one of the, was it Renegade's Ripcord? Is that right?
Yes. Okay, you're right. Yeah. Okay,
so
I
this
can
is
see
definitely
it now.
after.
Okay, that's cool. I might have been you. I might have been talking to Troy about that. I can't remember now, but we definitely expected this sneak peek to have like a long piece that was like going to be like almost like that kind of Grundle nappy element. Which is...
yeah, I was going to say it couldn't have been me because I knew what piece he used. So, and I wouldn't have told you. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that's Tiger Force sneak peek. I'm going to talk about Tiger Force Outback first and foremost. What a head sculpt this is. What a head sculpt this is. I mean, this is beautiful and is a boss fight head sculpt as well. So there you go, guys.
The penultimate boss fight head sculpt. What
we've been missing out for a few FSSs, unfortunately. But this head sculpt is just magnificent. And I think you don't I mean, Outback again is a very, basic design. But when it's done well, when it's done right, it can look ultimately superb. I have some issues with the legs, but obviously you can't really use any other legs in this scenario because you'd have to retool or like upgrade them. You'd have to do renew tooling ones. You can't really use any other legs for Outback necessarily. Maybe. But
I'm going to debate that.
Okay, you'll probably jump on that later. But I love the fact they did the kitty shirt. It looks amazing. I even love the fact they did the tiger stripes on the back. Again, like just real like solid deco. And this figure is obviously one of those like very, very close to my heart. Loved this figure as a kid. I had both versions. I loved both the original and the Tiger Force version. I loved the Survival t-shirt. I loved that Outback figure. He was one of the most, I don't know, just captivating figures because it was so different. The t-shirt for a start, the fact that he's out in difficult scenario, like hostile environments, wearing just a f***ing t-shirt, and he's got like he's a crap survivalist because the first thing you'd know is layers, mate. But like the backpack was really cool, and the web gear he came with was really awesome, and I love the gun with the little strap on it that you could kind of like hook over his shoulder. Just everything about this figure was just all the basics done well, and it was a beautiful design. The head was fantastic, and when they did the Tiger Force version, I nearly fell out of my seat. I loved it. I loved the design of the kitty shirt. I thought that was nuts, but again, it worked perfectly. It worked for me, and I was like, this is amazing. It's gorgeous. I need this figure. The fact they went with different hair colors for the guys, I mean, it's just nuts. Like, okay, guys, you're gonna get different uniforms. Oh, and you all have to change. I want you to dye your hair, all of you, different colors. Do it now. And I thought it was great, and I love the fact that the club incorporated this Outback version into their comic. They tied it in with the story of the Compound Z, kind of the previous concept. And so, he all of a sudden he went through this like, he got the virus, but was cured, and it obviously turned his hair white, which I thought was brilliant. So it was a cute little thing that they did in the comic for the club. Love the figure, think he's brilliant. I don't care what you say. Moving on to the next round. I'm just kidding. Adam, what do you say to that?
Well, the tooling we'll start with there, because this is literally the only negative thing I have to say. Having the 2007 Snake Eyes and Cobra legs is just unforgivable to me. It's fine that you needed to use the one thigh piece so that you could connect the flashlight.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, and I'm not saying that I have the answer right now off the top of my head or anything, but surely over the course of the last decade, there had to have been some other parts that weren't Shock Trooper that you could have used in place of those, But literally outside of that, I think this figure is an absolute masterpiece. I think that he looks so cool with that white hair, in the vintage line, there was a few times like Frostbite, Lowlight, Mercer, where they switched hair colors, and it just felt kind of like weird.
Yeah.
This was the one time where I was like, it just looks so awesome, and it makes sense that it's like, well, of course, it's because of Survivalist. He's out there, rough and rugged,
getting older.
Like it sounds so cool. He's reached that age where he doesn't care what people think of him. And he wears a kitty shirt. Like the colors just are awesome. They just pop, and he's such a great match to the original. I mean, like nothing but positivity about this figure. I just really wish that, and I mean, it doesn't ruin the figure or anything, but I just wish he could have been that much better. And he's already perfect if they could have just found some different torso and leg pieces. But
we're trying to locate who did the designs for the Tiger Force, by the way. I can put it out on here. Like we are literally trying to dig for who actually designed this stuff, and if they have any material of what they produced for this design, because we're thinking it would have been a Hasbro UK kind of scenario, or a freelance kind of, either like freelance, well, it would have been freelanced out, I'd imagine, but we're trying to work out who that was, because we would imagine, like, if you could get their design inputs on that on that deco sheet, or even like ideas they had maybe for his shirt before they came up with the kitty one. Could you I mean, there could be so many cool things on there. Like, I don't know what they could have come up with, but I'm desperate to try and find out who did that. So I'm putting it out here as well. If anyone's listening and knows, I know that isn't the case. I'm pretty sure it's one of those things that just hasn't been found out yet. So we are really trying to work that out. But when we do, that's going to be, we're going to Joe declassified that shit.
Maybe we haven't heard from Dave Tree in a lifetime because he's out looking.
That's why he is currently tomb raiding.
Yeah, Dave Tree's gone white, and he's wearing his survivalist gear out there digging through the Palatoy archives to try and...
Oh, even if he is doing that, if he should be doing that, I'm going to get him to do that, and then he can take pictures of him in his Outback cosplay doing that exact thing. Also, Kate did an Outback cosplay, and it looks amazing, but I think people know if they listen to this show. Juice Tin, Outback.
Yeah, I mean, the legs are terrible. I really hate that they, you had
an issue with yours as well, didn't you?
Yeah, my knee joint one of the knee joints was all whacked out, and I think the lower leg actually fell off the same weekend that I got the figure.
Wow.
And so I was really, really disappointed with that, which is a shame because, as Adam said and as you said, the rest of the figure is absolutely spectacular. I mean, They did a fantastic job with the deco on the T-shirt. The head sculpt is just amazing, and it really, the figure all together, minus those bow legs that really shouldn't be used in any figure past 2009 and probably shouldn't have been used in 2009, just really don't work. But they managed to fix, any of the other problems that those previous Outbacks had, which, weren't, the previous Outbacks were pretty decent as well.
Pretty solid,
The heads weren't fantastic, and the arms, had those little funky wrists. But
even back then, I liked the head sculpts back then. It's just when this one came out, it just showed you, didn't it? It was like, oh no, we did need a new head for Outback. It's like, oh, I see now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I mean, all in all, they did a really spectacular job on this Outback update. That whole cat T-shirt deco is just, it's become lore amongst the G.I. Joe fandom now, which is great because I remember stumbling upon that. I don't even remember how many years ago it was, shortly after I came online and we started learning, just the depth of the UK exclusive or European exclusive figures.
Was it the South American one you saw first, or was it the UK one? Do you remember?
I think it was the UK one that I saw first. Yeah, and just being blown away that not only did he have this Tiger Deco shirt, but the white hair almost made him a completely different character, and just. You really learned for the first time that G.I. Joe had so much potential outside your narrow little 82 to 94 window that really is still to this day is still being explored, which is really cool. So I'm a huge fan of this Outback.
It's one of the shining beacons of what could happen globally in this brand, and no one knows about it. Like, it's only like, everyone thinks that everyone in the UK thought that everyone knew about it, and everyone in the US has no idea that's going on. I just love that. I think it's brilliant.
It's one of those figures that, and I don't know how many quote unquote kind of, pop culture news sites that cover stuff, more wide scale. every once in a while, you'll get like IO9 or a site like that does, these are the cool G.I. Joe figures that you don't know about or anything like that. I don't know if any of them even ever touched on this figure or even aware of it. I could see them latching onto this thing and it becoming pretty popular.
And then you go through that list and you're like, no, I know every single one of these figures.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody knows who these figures are. Like.
Okay, so who's going through out of this one? Let's come back to you, Adam.
Oh man, I wish I didn't have to be on the spot here. This is honest. Yeah, this is far and away the hardest bracket this far.
So good three. I don't mind who goes through in this one. I'm not going to be upset. I'm just going to be upset that two don't make it. In all honesty.
Yeah, it's a little obnoxious that Law and Order, Nunchuck, and Barricade. One of them had to make it, and then we got to choose between Interrogator, Sneak Peek, and Outback. What the fuck?
What annoys me is that so far it's Nunchuck versus Pathfinder, and it's going to be Billy versus the winner. Sorry.
All three of these are great figures, and all three of them have a minor imperfection, I guess we could say.
Yeah.
Interrogator helmet, Sneak Peek, I think legs, and Tiger Force Outback is just the 2007 parts. But I think I honestly can say that of all the vintage foreign repaints, the two that stick out to me the most as an American that has only known about them in my adult life are the Eco Warriors Curaçao from Brazil and Outback UK Tiger Force. I think those two figures, for whatever reason, just really speak to me, and I think this is such a great update and such a good way to make that deco accessible to people that can't get the vintage one. And the head sculpt is just awesome. I think I just have to go with Tiger Force Outback.
Good call. Justin, I'm going to let you go next, and I'm not going to, just in case I ruin it.
As much of an affinity I have for Interrogator, just he became a pretty central character in my Dio stories, and as a character that I really love. Ultimately, I have to kind of stick with what Adam said and go with Outback as well. I just think he's just a fantastic representation of the vintage character, and so unique and so interesting, and I think they really killed it.
3 for 3. I'm going Outback too. And my second was Sneak Peek, annoyingly. I know you guys were like Interrogator all the way there, but again, it's because Sneak Peek and Outback. I have to. It's like freaking Adam every time he gets a Ninja Force character, or every time a '90s character, funny colors turns up for just. I'm kidding. Every time one of those Sigma 6 homages come up.
Yeah, like never.
Exactly.
Out of this bracket, I voted for the only figure I didn't do the packaging for, so that tells you how much I really love it, because if I wanted to let personal bias seep in, I totally could have.
That's very true. How could you
go
against...
one was even based on a friend of mine, so I really could have.
Adam.
So that tells you how much this was really, I just genuinely love this Tiger Force Outback.
Wow, you asshole. So congratulations to Outback for winning the whole thing. Do we have to keep going? I'm kidding. Congratulations to Tiger Force Outback for winning that round. He goes through to battle Billy in the second round. But before we see that battle, let's flip on over to the Western Conference. Round 2! Now that round 1 is done and dusted, this becomes a quick fire round as we have less to discuss here, but of course feel free to explain why you have chosen the figure you have. This round is between Nunchuck and Pathfinder. Justin, who do you give the win to here and why?
I've got to give the very slight edge to Pathfinder, I guess. I think he just looks a little bit cooler than Nunchuck does, and the blatant disregard for some really cool newly sculpted Nunchuck parts that could have been used to really drive his desirability through the roof. I'm still a little bitter about that so many years later, so Pathfinder gets the nod for me.
Okay, Adam.
These are two characters that I both really love. Their vintage figures mean everything to me, and yet both of these modern updates are deeply flawed in my mind, and just by the most narrowest razor thin of margins, I'm giving this to Nunchuck only because I love Ninja Force.
Wow. Uh-oh. It's quite interesting, actually, because putting me on the spot here, again, both of these figures, I mean, I voted for Law and Order on the first one, so you'd probably suggest that Pathfinder should go through, but then Pathfinder's got all those other issues kind of going on. No, it's Pathfinder, 100%, sorry. I'm going with Pathfinder on this one. Yes, there are like slight size issues going on, but for me, he gets the win because It's so they've tried so hard to get it like the original, and I have to like give them props, because I don't think I would have changed anything about that figure other than just build a new one. Do you know what I mean? Like a new head sculpt. I think a new head sculpt would completely revolutionize that figure as well. I think you wouldn't even see the vest on it. You wouldn't even see that. If the head was a bit bigger, I think the vest gets smaller aesthetically in a weird way. So, I'm going with Pathfinder because it's a very small-ish issue there. So, yes, Pathfinder 100%. Congratulations. You move on to the next round. Let's flip on over to the Eastern Conference. Round 2. This round is between Billy and Tiger Force Outback. Adam, you can start this one. Who do you give the win to here, and why?
This round is both hard and not. I mean, the winner is clear cut for me, but as the only two figures that we've gone over thus far with new head sculpts, that it was kind of a no-brainer that they were going to be the ones to go through, because obviously the most care went into them, I'd say. I really like them both for different reasons, but Billy definitely has things that I would change, whereas Tiger Force Outback, I think, is virtually perfect despite his flaws, if that means his perfect imperfections. So we love you, Tiger Force Outback, and on to the finals you go.
Justin, is it worth? I mean, who are you going to go with? Because I know you've got a very close bond with both of these, but probably more. Well, go on, tell us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna flip the script a little bit and say that while Billy has some flaws, I think even though there's only one real flaw in Tiger Force Outback, I think it's a greater flaw than than any of the smaller ones with Billy, and I just, by the sheer fact that Billy is Billy for the first time anywhere, I'm going to push him through.
You know what I'm going to do, right?
Yeah, so before you do...
You're going to break my heart and kick me in the balls.
Yes, I am. Go on, Adam.
I do feel obligated to say that, it seems crazy that a figure that everyone unanimously wanted for 20 years would get ousted by a simple repaint, basically, with a new head of a character that we already have 20 versions of. But, he's just really awesome.
Well, that's where you're wrong, Adam, because I'm going to vote for... I'm kidding. No, I'm going for the Outback. I just wanted to make it a bit more exciting. No,
Outback.
It has to be Outback for me. I'm sorry. Outback is just... He's like the perfect G.I. Joe character. He is the perfect G.I. Joe character. I'm just putting it out there. I think of all of the fringe, and I'm using air quotes, of all of the fringe characters, he is probably one of the most popular. And I would suggest he's close to one of my favourite ever characters in G.I. Joe. Just for the figure was spot on. The backstory and the bio are really interesting. The design is just so cool. The guy's got personality. He's in obviously he was in the UK comics quite heavily, when the figure came out. And there's a whole story behind where he's getting a psychiatric evaluation from Psych Out in Australia in the Outback, hilariously enough. And the Dreadnoks turn up and there's this big battle and everything. But it's just brilliant. And obviously he was massive in the Marvel run. He had that great storyline where he had to leave his guys behind, basically, and the whole team vilified him when he came back, and he couldn't explain to them what had happened, and he'd been ordered and he had to follow the orders and all this kind of stuff. And I just really thought it gave him so much depth and character. And when we got this Tiger Force repaint, I mean, it's just brilliant. I know we shouldn't have too much bias in the background, but let's face it, it's happened on this show every single episode, hasn't it? You've had the bias with Ninja Force, Justin. Adam. And Justin, you've had the bias towards, I don't know, 5-star reviews. I don't know what you've had about Sigma 6. All the Sigma 6
we've even
things.
Talked about Sigma 6.
I know, it's hilarious. How do we get a Built to Rule homage but not a Sigma 6 one? And think of
I'm telling you, I think Dave Lane just hates me.
It's Skybat.
Imagine that Zartan. Imagine doing a Zartan in that kind of crazy radioactive deco.
Although Adam just piped in and did make a good point about Skybat, and they did do the Skybat in
the crossover. The Transformers G.I. Joe crossover.
No, the parachute figure.
The parachute figure was a bright blue
my god,
of
yes.
that direct-to-consumer bat that was like the Sigma 6 bat. Yeah.
And yet not in an FSS, and we can't talk about it, sorry. We'll be coming, obviously, onto convention stuff at some point after we've battled our way through FSSs for the rest of our lives.
Sometime in 2043.
So congratulations to Outback. You have made it to the final, or the pseudo final, or round 3 as it's known. So let's move on and see the next battle then, which is round 3. Okay, so this is more of a semi-final than a final due to the fact that the Mystery 13th will play the winner, which is completely ridiculous at this stage. We have Pathfinder versus Outback, Tiger Force Outback. Who have we given it to? Justin, take us. Give me your thoughts on these two, please. Go for it.
Oh well, without a doubt. I mean, it's got to be Tiger Force Outback. I mean, the Pathfinder kind of made it through with not so very stiff competition, but once a real player comes to the fold, it's kind of tough to compare. I think the new heads, even if it was just Outback's head against Pathfinder, I think Outback's head would beat Pathfinder's entire figure.
Oh, that's brilliant. Is it worth doing, Adam? Who have you got?
Yeah, but Pathfinder is that figure that's like made it to the playoffs with a losing record because he's in a weak division, like
Yeah.
Whereas Tiger Force Outback, like swept the league and got first seed, and is ready to finish the perfect season. So, bye Pathfinder.
And it's a 3-way. Sorry, it's a 3 score on this one. Completely perfect Outback. You have decimated the competition for this round 3, but who will be the winner when Outback faces?
I'm so glad that we couldn't choose Billy and Sneak Peek and so many of these other figures, so we could have this final round.
I feel like we could have really just gone on. This episode could have been intro and then me going, "Right, it's Outback in it," and then we go, "Yeah," and then we move on.
Just like.
So, round 4! Okay, we made it to the final, and it is Tiger Force Outback versus the Mystery 13th figure, Carla Doc Greer. Who will win out? Only we have the power to decide that, and unless you want to do a podcast about it, go for it. Justin, who have you got and why?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know, obviously, the female version of Doc got, I think for the first time, was in the Devil's Due G.I. Joe Reloaded series, I believe. And, people thought that was kind of an interesting concept, and it ended up making it into the Collectors Club's 2007 box set, I believe, which is actually a very cool convention set. But anyway.
Cool figure.
So,
she's a cool figure as well, I think.
Yeah, that was a cool figure, but I think, everything that they could get wrong on this Doc, they really did. I mean, not that they have a whole lot of female parts to choose from, but I mean, just the Lady J parts, that while they resemble that Doc, the arm articulation is not great. The head sculpt, don't even get me started. I don't know where that head sculpt even came from, but
so soft, isn't it? There's
no
soft, detail to it at all.
Yeah, I'm really not sure who sculpted that, but it does not look very good. And then she's got like the long Rise of Cobra CoverGirl legs. Just kind of a mismatch of goofy proportions, and I get what they were going for, and from a character perspective, I think she makes sense to use as an FSS figure, but trying to compare her with Tiger Force Outback is there's no comparison, and he wins in pretty much every way.
Okay, Adam, what are your thoughts on female Doc as a figure?
Well, I should start by saying, that much like the game that we just played, the final shipment of this FSS was Sneak Peek, Outback, and Doc. So imagine everyone being like, "Oh man, I can't wait for the 13th," and then they open it and they're like, "Outback, Doc," So, yeah, this one, I don't care about this character at all. I think it's really weird that they just did this like gender swap.
Yeah.
And even so much as that, like the card art, for the record, like I did the art, but the idea to have it completely replicate the pose of the original Doc art was not my idea. And that's just like, I don't know, it's just weird to me to have something that's so dependent on another character and so derivative, like even her color palette, even her accessories. I'm just like, I think that it just in general, this is almost a character and figure that doesn't need to exist. But as for the figure on its own merits here, that I think the face sculpt is actually pretty good. The hair is what bothers me because it literally has no texture. It's like two smooth balls.
I ain't saying.
Yeah. But yeah, And like Justin said, there's only so much female tooling to go around, and I know that everyone wants more female characters, but when you literally only have like 6 bodies to work from, after a while, when you've seen those parts cycled through so many times, it's like, how many Helix, Lady J, Scarlet Baroness combos can we make? And the parts start to become so identifiable.
They need a female shock trooper, don't they, mate?
Yeah. Yeah, like a hole in the head.
2 smooth balls on the head.
Yeah.
That reminds me of my bachelor party.
It reminds me of your bachelor party. Okay. I want to jump in here and go against the grain a little bit. I agree with the head sculpt. I think the face is fine. Like, really kind of, nice, it kind of works being like smooth and soft, everything. But the hair, that is a phoned in like design. I'm sorry. Like, give it texture. Hair does not work like that. Like, any hair in the universe, like that's kind of impossible to do. There has to be some texture there, something. And I feel like that is like a really big, almost like phoned in element on this figure. And considering it was a new head sculpt, like it's like, get that, get that right, get it up to standard. So that for me is my only issue with the figure, because I think the actual figure itself looks really cool. I think she's, again, it isn't she. I'm pretty sure she's related to the Doc. She's not just a gender swap figure, is she?
Yeah,
no,
she's like his niece or something.
Niece,
like
yeah,
that.
that's it. So
but so Kristen is your niece's name, Krista McLeod, and she looks just like you and wears the same clothes as you and poses the same as you.
Well, let me get to that point.
Yeah.
But what I would say is I like that, and I like the fact that there's a cute little kind of tie in, and she's obviously wants to be like her uncle. That's right, isn't it? Yeah, she wants to be like her uncle and be like a doctor and it's almost like they've gone, well, we're passing the baton and all of the clothing and all of his accessories down to you.
Unc, I want to be just like you. Yeah, this is starting to get a little creepy. Maybe you want to like find your own way in life, like.
But what I would suggest here is that an opportunity has been missed, because it's easier to do what they've done. Like, it's a very easy thing to just do what's happened here, when in actual fact there's a real opportunity to create something new with a bit of basis, like yes, they're related to Doc, and obviously that's something you could understand. Doctors often run in the family, professions run in the family, the military runs in the family in a lot of the time. I'm not saying it does every single time, but there'll be a lot of families that have that, they all kind of gravitate to the same kind of career because that's what they know. And I kind of think that would be great if she had her own personality, her own uniform, her own, all that kind of stuff, something that made her better, or an upgrade or different, and that's something that I thought was the cop out. And also, it's just them homaging one of their figures, really. And I know she was in the Reloaded thing, and I know she has been used since in other things, but still I just feel like it's a bit unnecessary. And for a 13th, there's an option to really shock in a good way. And we've discussed 13ths, and we'll discuss them more as we go. But I feel that this one was a little bit of a, no one was really pining for it. No one really wanted the figure, and that made it even worse, I think. So the deck was stacked against this particular figure, so it really had to get a lot of things right, and it didn't. So I also have to go with Tiger Force Outback. I know, shock horror. He is our ultimate super winner of this particular FSS, so congratulations to Tiger Force Outback. Guys, surprised?
A little.
I am a little, actually, to be honest. I mean, I'm not surprised it beat Doc, but I'm a little surprised that Tiger Force Outback stands on top of the whole pile. Before
we did this, who was standing out to you? Like, because this happens, I look through them and I'll kind of think, oh yeah, that's a front runner. But this one, I don't know, they all seemed like there was a lot of people in a similar level, and I didn't really think about Tiger Force Outback as much because I knew the character so well, and it didn't really jump out at me. But what about you guys? What stood out?
I mean, I know that a lot of people really like that Law and Order, so I kind of figured he'd be a front runner. I thought Billy, of course, Interrogator, Outback. I mean, I think those were the ones that really stood out.
I figured, to be honest, I thought Billy'd be a shoo-in all the way to the top.
Really? With that V-neck T-shirt?
Well, better than the bow legs with the weird flashlight and.
Now, but let me ask you though, if instead of being called Doc, if she had a name like say like Little Helper, would that have helped to propel her further? If she had a more of her own identity, or
no,
Little Helper,
or maybe if she disappointed her family and not gone into medicine and instead maybe say it was like a drug dealer,
lawyer. Oh yeah, she could have been Head Woman.
Yeah, Head Woman
with head
sculpt.
With dojo head sculpt, could have been perfect. So that's it. We've come to the end of the 4th episode of the Full Force FSS Battle. You join us again soon for the 5th episode, where we'll do the same to FSS 5. Thanks to my awesome co-hosts, Justin and Adam, and thanks to you all for watching / listening. Full Battle Force.
We out.